A fire is burning, the room is warm. The rabbi is teaching little children the alphabet.
Auf dem Pripitschek brennt a Feier und in Stub is heiß. Da sitzt der Rebbe mit kleine Kinderlach, lernt Alef Beis. Da sitzt der Rebbe mit kleine Kinderlach, lernt Alef Beis. Oi sog je noch amol und take noch amol, kometz Alef O. Wird besser von euch lernen Alef Beis, wer bekommt a Pfund. Wer wird besser von euch lernen Alef Beis, der bekommt a Pfund. Oi sog je noch amol und take noch amol, kometz Alef O. Wer wird besser von euch lernen Alef Beis, der bekommt a Pfund. Wer wird besser von euch lernen Alef Beis, der bekommt a Pfund. Auf dem Pripitschek brennt a Feier und in Stub is heiß. Da sitzt der Rebbe mit kleine Kinderlach, lernt Alef Beis. Da sitzt der Rebbe mit kleine Kinderlach, lernt Alef Beis.
Good evening. I'm Donna Weitzman, and I'm here tonight to invite you to celebrate with us. To celebrate a gentleman, a man, a rabbi that all of us have known, or at least most of us have known, as Rabbi Yitchak Cohen. We call him Rabbi Yitz. Sometimes I just call him Yitz because we're about the same age, Rabbi. But I'm here to talk about what he's done for us and our community. 50 years ago, a young rabbi from Washington arrived in Dallas. Little did we know at the time the blessings that he would bestow upon us, what he would do for us. He would give of himself to our children, to our grandchildren, and to us to bless us.
My name is Mike Friedman, and I have a very special honor this evening. I get to tell you a little bit about a man whom I've met only about 10 years ago, and yet he calls me his brother. I call him my friend, confidant, and one name we all call him is Mensch. And when I think about my dear friend Yitz, the coincidence of our beginnings could not be more strange. Within months of my birth here in Dallas, Texas, this man was born on the other side of the world, in war-torn Krakow. Yitchak Cohen was the only child of Holocaust survivors. His father came from a small city, and he himself was an extremely learned rabbi, a fact in which Yitz takes great pride. To this day, Yitz will tell you that his father of blessed memory was one of his greatest teachers.
When I was actually born in Poland, in 1949 after the war, and my father and mother, after Auschwitz, they were survivors of the Holocaust. So my father moved back to Krakow. He was part of an organization, a national organization, very religious organization called Agudat Israel, and they asked him to move back to Krakow and make it possible for every Jew that wants to move to Israel, they will sponsor it. So he was, so he was in charge of the so-called aliyah. When you move to Israel, you make aliyah. In other words, you go upwards. You're elevating yourself. And and then he met my mother, of course, who was like his assistant, and they got married. And I was born in Krakow. And as soon as the last person who wanted to make aliyah to Israel made it, my father, the next week, my father, mother, and yours truly, at the age of 6, 7 months old, we moved to Israel. And we went to Israel immediately. So I was raised in Jerusalem. Yeah. In Jerusalem, we didn't have anything, and we had everything. Okay. That's Jerusalem. We lived in a little dinky, our apartment was, I'm telling you right now, our entire apartment was smaller than this room we're sitting in. Our entire Mea Shearim. For 6 years, that's where we were living. 5.5 years. And then we finally, moved to an apartment in Machne Yehuda, the section, where the farmers market is, a very well-known section. And we got a 35 square meter apartment. You know what 35 square meters is? 350 foot. 350 foot. What's this room? Probably 200, But the apartment was nothing. The bathrooms were outside. Everything, we had a little stove, or whatever it is. But that's the way we lived. But you know what? It was wonderful.
When baby Yitz was only 6 months old, the small family fulfilled their dream of making aliyah to Israel, and they moved to Yitz's very favorite place on earth, the city of Jerusalem. There in the holy city, his father soon became known as a great chacham, or sage to his community. Yitz describes their home a modest room in the Machane Yehuda, neighborhood of Jerusalem, always filled with great rabbis and cantors. His father was a close friend of such legendary figures as Aryeh Levine, the rabbi known as a tzaddik of our time, the great philosopher Martin Buber, and the Nobel Prize-winning author S.Y. Shai Agnon. Yitz and his childhood friends would often walk to Agnon's home on Shabbat, where the great writer would sit on his porch and hand out candy to the children. Yitz also had the great blessing of learning from Rabbi Levine and of being around the shining lights of the Jewish world. Yitz has said that you could see the divine illumination in their faces, and indeed, he has spread that light to all of us. Yitz has illuminated all of our lives.
My father never said anything about the Holocaust. Never. The only time he spoke about the old home, the alte Heim, meaning the shtetl he lived in. He spoke about all the glorious things that took place there. You know, the famous Rebbe, the Bobover Rebbe, and the Hasidim, and what spending a Jewish holiday in that environment was like. And when he talked, fire came out of his eye. You understand, Rabbi? Never said anything about the Holocaust. The first time, and probably the only time, was when, as a class, we went to see the judgment at Nuremberg. What year was that?
61.
So I was 12 years old. I figured at 12 years old, you see. But there are scenes there that are very graphic, right? And all of us, we were there as a class, we looked at it. Bodies, live bodies. And that's because they showed the people who were, those Nazis, look what you did. And we're sitting there. And I had about 4 or 5 friends at the school I went to with parents who survived the Holocaust. And we're looking at each other. And I said to my friend, I'll never forget, his name was Moshe Shoresh. I said to him, Moshe, did you know this? Never knew it. All I know is that my father was in Dachau and my mother was in Theresienstadt, whatever. I come home, I couldn't wait to get home, knowing that my father, and he had the scars of the Holocaust to begin with, on his body. Yeah, he was given at one time for taking a potato from the kitchen, found out later, and gave it to somebody who was dying to eat something. In other words, he stole a potato to give it to a dying person. And they caught him. And they gave him for 3 days 50 lashes on his back. Whenever he took a bath, I had to wash his back. I had to wash his back. It was red. You would not believe it, how red it was. I never told you this. It was like a piece of raw meat. So, I mean, he had a tremendous amount of scars, but as everybody else. I mean, he was one of, he was one of millions. He was, I came back to him and I said, tell me something, I saw something today, very graphic, very real. Did this really happen? I knew you were in Auschwitz, I know that. I know my mother was in Mauthausen. By the way, they both worked for Schindler. They didn't know each other. Because if you lived anywhere in the vicinity of Krakow, that was the closer, the closest, it was a labor camp at the time, Plaszow. But they were not on the list, the Schindler's list. They were not on the 1100 list. And my mother, was sent to Mauthausen, my father to Auschwitz, He was there for a year and a half. But when I asked him that question, I was 12 years old. I knew nothing. Everybody knew about the Holocaust, the extent. We didn't know as kids, And he says, what did you actually see? I said, I'll tell you exactly what I saw. Because they were showing these mamzerim, these Nazis, this is what you did. And he looked at me, and after I told him what I saw, here's what his answer to me is, looks at me, first he wanted to know what I saw, of course, And he said to me, listen, you're going to hear a lot about the Holocaust. And you're going to hear what happened here, and how many Jews were killed, and we all know this is. But I want you to know one thing, and in Yiddish, he says, whatever you see and whatever you hear is not even a fraction of what really happened.
The young country of Israel was very poor in those early years, and young Yitz did not have an easy childhood. His mother died of pneumonia at the age of 28, and his father contracted tuberculosis, forcing him to put his only son in an orphanage for 2.5 years while he was sent to a hospital in another city. But young Yitz, despite these hardships, was blessed with a remarkable talent, the voice of an angel. And while he was at that orphanage, he was discovered by one of Israel's greatest musical figures, the renowned Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Rivlin. To be a cantorial student of the great composer was the highest honor an aspiring singer could attain. The story, as Yitz tells it, is that Professor Rivlin would visit the various schools and yeshivas looking for talent when he happened to be at the orphanage where young Yitz was living. The other boys pointed to Yitz and cried out, "Have Yitz sing for him! Have him sing!" And so the young Yitchak Cohen stood and sang a tune he happened to have learned the week before. As he sang, Rabbi Rivlin's face broke into a broad smile. He beamed as he asked the boy at the end of the performance, "Son, where did you learn that song?" To which Yitz responded, "They taught us that tune here last week." Rivlin smiled and replied, "I wrote that song." And with that, a match was made in heaven. Rabbi Rivlin was an older man at the time and personally took young Yitchak under his wing, the last of his students, because he recognized the extraordinary talent of this boy. And by the time Yitz was 13, he was performing virtuoso concerts throughout Israel. At 15, he was training cantors, and not long after that, he was sent to tour in the greatest concert halls of Europe. Known as the Boy Wonder, cantor Yitchak Cohen moved the souls of thousands in his audiences in France, England, Belgium, Israel, and America with his magnificent cantorial, operatic, and popular Yiddish and Hebrew tunes. It was when he was performing in New York at the tender age of 17 that Yitz was heard by the rabbi of the largest Orthodox congregation in the U.S., Ohev Shalom of Washington, D.C., and was asked if he would consider accepting the position of chazan of that auspicious institution. The young man accepted, and cantor Yitchak Cohen began his career as a congregational chazan in the United States. Of course, no congregation can have an unmarried man in their midst without the driving need to make him a match. And so, immediately, the shidduch machine began. And one Yom Tov night, when Yitz was invited to dinner, a lovely young woman from Panama who was studying in the area also graced the table. Her name was Rosie, and the rest is history.
By the time Sukkot came around, of course, I couldn't wait to see him. It was like this crazy thing. And we went out on a date, double date. And the Rebbitzin was very happy that I at least gave him the courtesies, as after all, everybody wants to go out with him. And not only that, he had a calendar. His calendar was booked for years, for Friday night and Saturday. All the Shabbos meals, he was booked. I never heard of such thing. I never heard of such thing. So anyway, I told the Rebbitzin that we were going out on a date, Motzei Shabbos, and she was happy. And we went out to see the movie, The Odd Couple. I had already seen it, but we saw the movie, came out, we're in the car, and he said to me, "What do you think about a June wedding?" I said, "Sounds great." That was it. I came in the house, the Rabbitson was standing there, and she said, "So how did it go?" I said, "We're getting married on June the 4th.
Washington, D.C. was good to the Cohens. Yitz studied music at the Peabody School in Baltimore and learned with a great Talmudic scholar. But the times were changing. With the assassination of Reverend Martin Luther King, the neighborhood where Cantor Cohen had to walk to shul on Friday nights and Shabbat became more and more dangerous. Rosie was pregnant, the winters were bitter cold, and the couple began looking for a change. Yitz interviewed and was offered numerous positions, but when he arrived at Love Field in February of 1970 and the temperature outside was 72 degrees, Dallas began looking like a very attractive new home. A rabbi friend in Nashville suggested that Yitz meet Rabbi Zucker, and Tiferet Israel became the new home of Yitz and Rosie Cohen for the next 35 years. While music was the world to Yitz, his father continually urged him to complete his rabbinical studies and become ordained as a rabbi. At his father's behest, in 1980, Yitz took a sabbatical and went to Jerusalem, where he finished his formal training and received Simcha, the official title of rabbi from the chief rabbi of Jerusalem. It was perhaps prophetic on his father's part because, indeed, in 1991, an unexpected hardship changed the destiny of this man whose remarkable musical career had spanned decades. As he was officiating at a wedding, he experienced a horrendous pain and knew he had to immediately be taken to a hospital. Days later, the doctors realized that his appendix had ruptured, poison spread through his body, gangrene had already set in, and the prognosis was dim. His daughter Sharon, studying at Hebrew University in Jerusalem at the time, was told to fly in quickly to say goodbye to her father. Several rabbis in Jerusalem sent with Sharon their special blessings, which she administered upon her arrival. The doctors were ready to accept any miracle to save their patient, and lo and behold, his condition began to improve. After 5 months of hospitalization, Yitz had much rehabilitation to do, but the most difficult reality to accept was the results of the tracheotomy, which saved his life but took away his ability to sing. Yitz went to voice specialists all through the U.S., but it was gone. The voice of that Rabbi Rivlin heard in the orphanage in Jerusalem all those years earlier was to be heard no longer. And so, Cantor Yitzhak Cohen was to become Rabbi Yitzhak Cohen, the leader, the teacher, the visionary who we celebrate today. During his time at Tiferet, Yitz officiated at thousands of B'nai Mitzvah, weddings, funerals, and family occasions. He taught countless children how to chant and left an indelible mark on so many members of this community. He also participated in national and international rabbinical conferences. On one such occasion, Yitz joined other rabbis from all over the country on a journey through Europe to visit places that had experienced the Holocaust and meet with youth there to teach about the Jewish people. When asked why he would go to Auschwitz, Yitz said, "When I was there, I realized this is a grave of my grandparents, my aunts, uncles, cousins. It is a cemetery, and as such, it is holy ground." Yitz's wisdom, his insight, and learning, which he has shared as a rabbi, have enriched us and made us better people. After 35 glorious years at Tiferet Israel, at the age of 56, Yitz Cohen had an epiphany and decided it was time to realize his dream, Im lo ashav matai. He had a vision to build a shul modeled after the Mishkan. On the concept of a half shekel, everyone was to be equal. No one knew who was who and who had what. People were loved for the soul that they brought to the table and together they would build a community of harmony, love, and mutual respect. They would reach out to those who sought a spiritual home where everyone would be comfortable. Everyone would feel welcome. Yitz named his congregation Nishmat Am, soul of the people, because he wanted a congregation that looked inward to the souls of those who joined in prayer and harmony. But those who came each week looked to their rabbi, their teacher, the voice who leads them in worship, the soul who sets an example of humility, of goodness, and grace. Yitz creates the model of loving kindness for how a Jew should live his life, for how a human being should answer the call of his brother and love his neighbor, how he hears another's need before he is asked. No one knows how to express love more than my friend, this wonderful rabbi whose neshama, whose soul is the reason we're all here tonight, Rabbi Yitchak Cohen.
When my great-grandson was born, I said this to my daughter. I said, you see, I never saw, my mother of course died, she was 28, so I'm an only child. I never saw a grandfather, I never saw a grandmother. They were all gassed, burned. I never saw an aunt, I never saw an uncle, I never saw a first cousin. And here, I merited, really, to see a fourth generation. Can you imagine what this is? Can you even imagine this? The feeling? We had a great-grandchild, 11 months ago in Israel. I haven't seen him yet. I haven't seen him, he's going to be a year old. I haven't seen him yet. So, to live to see a fourth generation, wow. I have tears in my eyes when I talk about it. God is good to me.
Hi Papa, Orly and Avi here. We just wanted to say how proud we are of you and how amazing of a grandfather and rabbi you are. Everyone we've talked to who knows you has only said good things, and we are just so happy to be your grandchildren and so proud of all the accomplishments you have done.
Hey Papa, you have been such a great influence on my life, and you have been such a big role model. Your love and integrity has affected me in positive ways, and I hope when I grow up I'm just like you. We're so proud of you, and we love you so much.
Hey Papa, it's Marissa. I just wanted to say, Yasher Koach. I am so proud of you and all that you've done. You're an amazing guy, the most kind-hearted person I know, and not only have you been an excellent leader in your community and at your synagogue, but you've been the best role model that I could ever ask for, just within our family and within my life. I'm so blessed that I'm your granddaughter. You've instilled great Jewish values in me. We've had some funny talks. You were just one funny guy in general, and I'm so lucky that you are my grandpa, and I love you with every ounce of my body.
Hi Papa, it's Jordan. I love you so much, and I'm so proud of all that you've accomplished. You're an amazing grandfather, rabbi, and role model to me, and I love spending each and every second that I get to with you. I can't wait to go to another trip to Israel with you and get Moshikas again. Love you.
Hey Papa, how you doing? I just wanted to tell you how much I love you, how much I miss you, and how much I'm proud of you. אני רוצה להגיד לך פאפה שאני מעריצה אותך ואתה החיים שלי ואין כמוך בעולם. Thank you for what you are for us, for the family, for everyone. Thank you that you're so amazing, you're so... אתה מכיל אותנו, אתה מקשיב לנו, זה פשוט אהבה שאין לתאר במילים. אין כמוך, אחד יחיד ומיוחד. אוהבת, 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 מתגעגעת בטירוף.
היי פאפה, רציתי להגיד לך שאני מתגעגעת אליך ואוהבת אותך הכי בעולם הזה, שאתה הבן אדם הכי מושלם בעולם הזה, שאתה פשוט מלאך מהשמיים, באמת, תרתי משמע, אתה פשוט מלאך. אני כל כך גאה בך על כל מה שעשית, כל החיים האלה ולאן שהגעת, זה פשוט ראוי להערצה ולהערכה, ואני אוהבת אותך ברמות שאתה לא יכול לתאר, אני מתגעגעת אליך ברמות שאי אפשר להסביר, ואני כבר מתה שתראה את ריין. וזהו, אתה החיים שלי, אני שרופה עליך, אתה לא יכול בכלל לדמיין כמה אני אוהבת אותך. חיים שלי. זהו, נשיקות.
Hey Dad, this is your son coming to you live from an undisclosed location, partly and mainly because of the social distancing efforts due to the recent COVID pandemic, which is highly unfortunate because I would love to be giving you this message and addressing you and everybody live, but we are doing the best we can, of course. But that doesn't take away from the tremendous milestone and the wonderful occasion that this is, and that you so truly deserve. You are so honored, you are so loved by many, not only your peers, your members, your family members, everyone around you, whether they're in Dallas, whether they're in Israel, whether they're in New York or anywhere across the globe, everyone knows your name, you're admired, you're loved, and you're tremendously respected. And there's a lot that goes on and to be said about that. And I hope that you are aware of that and you know that how much everybody loves you, how much everybody cares for you, and how about everybody is just so excited to be present, at least virtually, for this occasion. We can't wait to be with you and to celebrate with you, and this is such a tremendous occasion. We look forward to seeing you soon, and we love you very much. Yasher Koach.
Hi Yitz. I want to wish you a mazel tov on this amazing milestone, and just to tell you how special you are to me, and I know you're special to everyone who knows you, but even more than that, thank you for how special you make me feel and how special you make everyone around you feel. We are so blessed to be the recipients of your love. I know I am. So mazel tov, and keep going from strength to strength. You are an incredible rabbi, father, grandfather, and just an amazing friend to everyone. We love you.
Hi, Dad.
Hi, Yitz.
Mazel tov on this amazing milestone. We are so proud of you, and we are proud to be your daughter and son-in-law. And gosh, I was trying to think of what I wanted to say, and there was so much that came to mind. But one thing is that there isn't anybody that we meet or run into that doesn't have wonderful things to say about you and that doesn't have at least one story to tell us about how you've touched their lives. Definitely cannot not mention Mom, who was always there by your side and, more importantly, behind the scenes doing the really hard work. And she was the true, and still is, strength and backbone of our family.
Yes, we love you. You've been an inspiration to us and to many other people. We're so lucky to have you in our lives. Congratulations. We look forward to many more experiences.
Yitzhak, congratulations on this outstanding achievement for you. I think back, you are one of my oldest friends, my soul brother, and I basically can't think of anybody that holds the best parts of humanity the way you do.
Basically, Yitz is a mensch, and he's a tzaddik, which means that he is a righteous one. He communicates with God. I think that Nishmat Am is like is an example of Yitz and made in Yitz's image, and Yitz is made in God's image. But the image that God intended for all of us to really be. To sum it up, just let me give you a quick example of Yitz and Nishmat Am and how special he is to this community. No one was available to help this Russian couple. They went everywhere, and it wouldn't have mattered if they were Jewish or Greek Orthodox or whatever. And they came to Yitz because a precious one of theirs had passed away. They had no money for a funeral. Basically, Yitz got right to work in 2 days. He got us all together. We made sure they had a funeral. This basically sums up what Yitz is all about and sums up what Nishmat Am's all about, whether somebody doesn't have enough money for an electric bill or whatever. Yitz is always there either personally or Nishmat Am. So Yitz, we love you. Congratulations for, I guess it's now your 51st anniversary. May Nishmat Am continue to thrive, and you as well, to help everyone here, and how blessed we are to have you, and we love you dearly. God bless you, and congratulations.
When I met him, of course, I came from a very different background than he did. And I was totally oblivious to the job that he was doing. But it never ceased to amaze me, the things that transpire. He honestly loves the people. His spirit, his soul, his I mean, unconditionally. It doesn't matter if they were bad, or even if he knows that they were bad to him, and they call him, it's like nothing. And I think that is a very wonderful quality to have, but it is also a very big burden to take.
Being a rabbi is a teacher. And so, first and foremost, you have to be a role model. You can't just teach. You can't but preach. And, when you yourself. But you know what? To explain the term good, I can tell you right now, when I walk into my congregation, I see good. I see good. I see people performing so many good deeds, helping, doing, volunteering. That's good. I'm surrounded by goodness, I gotta tell you this.
Yitz has profound wisdom. He's one of the wisest people I've ever known. When you're with Yitz, you feel like you're the most important person on the planet. He's 100% present. He teaches by example. I've never heard him say a bad word about anybody. He finds only goodness, and that's the goodness in him that beholds only the goodness in another, and he brings that out of us. His humanity lies in bringing out the humanity in the rest of us. He lives up to the name of what a Jew is. A Jew, the word Jew, Yehudi, means one who is grateful. Yitz is one of the most profoundly grateful people I know.
Our sages teach us that al shlosha dvarim ha'olam omed, al haTorah, al ha'avodah, va'al gmilut chasadim, which means on three things the world stands: on the Torah, on service, and on deeds of loving kindness. I would say that Rabbi Cohen exemplifies all three of those essential parts of our world. He is learned and teaches beautifully. Every week when we come to service, his sermon, his Dvar Torah, is a brilliant explanation of what is happening during the passage of the week, and that is the Torah. He's a wonderful teacher. Al-Avodah, the service. He leads our services, but he provides service to the community. He is always there. If somebody is in the hospital, he is the first one to want to visit. If somebody needs a meal, his discretionary fund immediately responds. He responds before he hears the call for help. He knows who needs help, and he reaches out to them, never to humiliate somebody by needing to ask. He always hears the cry before it's given. And finally, Gmilut Chasadim, the deeds of loving kindness. He exemplifies the performance of deeds of loving kindness in everything that he does, in the way that he speaks to people, in the way that he conducts his life. The first time that we entered Nishmat Am, as we were walking in the door, he stopped in the service to greet us, as if we were special guests. And he does that anytime a new person walks in. He makes a point of making them feel like the most invited guest of the service that day.
Hello, my name is Mark Kahn. On behalf of my whole family, it has been an absolute treasure co-chairing Rabbi Cohen's Jubilee celebrating his amazing life and career. I'm here to talk about the magic of Yitz. The magic happens every day and every moment you're around this remarkable soul. The magic of Yitz is that special memory that each one of you have with Rabbi Cohen. It's different for everyone. Maybe it was that time you needed to be consoled, needed someone to lift you up or cheer for you. Maybe it was a mishaberach or a blessing when you were going on a journey abroad. One can imagine how many baby namings, bris, bar mitzvahs, weddings, and funerals he has presided over. It has been in the tens of thousands. You see, the magic of Yitz is not only with his knowledge of Torah, but the insightful ways he shares the stories, making you feel as if you were present in that day and time. The magic of Yitz comes out in other ways too. It comes out in his musicality. You could still hear it in his voice today. I was very fortunate to sit down with Yitz and listen to all his recordings of his music. He was on tour in the 60s like a rock star, hitting high notes and vibratos here in America like no one ever heard before. He was able to light up the lives of all who attended. Not very many people can ever be called the Wonder Boy, as every prayer that the rabbi chants has a deep-rooted love of music that comes from his soul. My first experience of the magic of Yitz, almost 50 years this month, while preparing for my own Haftorah Naso. I found myself entering Rosie and Yitz's apartment on a weekly basis by wheelchair with a multiple leg fracture from a sports injury. Finally, right before I was to approach the bima, walk it on my own, Yitz pulled me aside, hugged me, and reassured me with a statement that has stayed with me my entire life. He says, "Finish strong, Bubala." After chanting the last few notes, on a crescendo, I knew I had finished strong, as those thoughts have stayed with me in all aspects of my life. That's my magic of Yitz. I am so grateful for all your love, care, and support throughout the many years we have been together. Using your words, Rabbi Yitchak Cohen, I love to sing with you, to pray with you, and just to be with you. Love you.
Hello, I'm Rabbi Gordy Fuller, now of Columbia, Maryland. It is truly an honor to be included among those giving tribute to Harav Yitzchak ben Dov HaKohen V'Chana, Rabbi Yitz Cohen. Yitz has been a friend and teacher of mine since I moved to Dallas in 1990, when I first spent 6 years as the educator at Shearith Israel, and then 7 years as the director of education for the Dallas Jewish Federation. In Hebrew, it's interesting to note that the words for learning, Torah, for teacher, morab, and parent, hora, all share the same root, or, which means light. Yitz has been a light to me personally for over 30 years, and for the Dallas Jewish community for over 50 years. I guess that makes him a bright fellow. God willing, his light will continue to illuminate, brighten, and shine for many years to come. Finally, for me personally, Yitz has been the complete embodiment of the famous saying from Pirkei Avot, Aseh lecha rav ukne lecha chaver. Find yourself a teacher and you will acquire for yourself a friend. I wouldn't be who I am today or where I am in life today without Yitz as my Rebbe and Musmach. Rav Todot for being Achi Mori Yedidi. Unlimited thanks to you, Yitz, for being my brother, my teacher, and one of my dearest friends. I love you.
The man is unbelievable, actually. I met him, I moved to Dallas in 1977, and I met him probably in 78 or 79. And we have been friends for 40-some years now. And no matter when I call, he would pick up the phone. He gets a call for a funeral. And it's interesting how he's got the grandchildren of former members, and I mean, it just goes all the way down. I mean, even though they're not members of our synagogue, they're calling him because they say, my parents said they want the rabbi to do the service for my father, my grandfather, my mother, or whatever. You know, some people say, if you got, out of 10, where's he? He's 10. He's a 10. He is my spiritual leader, my friend, and he's always been there for me.
It's my privilege and honor to participate in celebration of your 50 years dedication as a Kli Kodesh rabbi and cantor to Dallas community. It's a historical moment for our Jewish community, and we all are blessed by your exemplary and your wonderful neshama. I met you 25 years ago. You welcomed me with open hands as I was your old friend. And since then, I felt like I have now a big brother in Dallas. In all these years, we have shared many simchas and less happy occasions. When I needed you, you were there for me. As well, when you needed me, I was there for you. May Hashem bless you and Rosie and wonderful your mishpucha and guard you. May Hashem show you favor and grace you. May Hashem show you kindness and grant you peace, long, successful years, as you are bringing light to others in love. And we love you.
ולא זרו לנצח על קרן אמרים שפילחת בנו ורוח ונשמה שנפחת באפנו ולשון אשר שמת בפינו עיניהם יודו ויברכו וישבחו ויברכו וירוממו ויריצו ויבישו וימלכו עד שמך וכל קומה לפניך תשתחווה וכל לבבות יראוך וכל קרב וכליות יזמרו לשמך כדבר שכתוב מציל אני מחזק ממנו אני ויום לגוזלו מציל אני מחזק ממנו אני ויום לגוזלו
Hi, I'm Bill McManaway. I'm Sheila's husband and the president of Nishmat Am. I met Yitz 17 years ago when Sheila and I were dating. We visited with Yitz and Rosie one afternoon at their home in Dallas. You know the rest. That very day, Yitz became my rabbi and my dear friend. Simon of blessed memory, Sheila's father, and his new wife, Roberta, were special guests that day. He walked Sheila down the aisle to the huppah, and everyone's marriage, of course, is special to them, but we felt doubly blessed that day because we were under the huppah with our dear friend and Rabbi Yitz. After the Nosh, Rabbi Cohen and Simon and Roberta were having a conversation, and Simon and Roberta revealed that they had been married in a civil ceremony. Well, Yitz broke into an immediate smile and he said, "Well, your whole family is here. Let's get you married properly in a proper Jewish wedding. We have a huppah, we have witnesses, we have a veil, we have a ring. I always carry a spare ketubah. Let's get going." Well, it wasn't 10 minutes later that the ketubah was signed and witnessed, and we were all standing around the huppah for a second time that day. I remember holding one corner of the huppah and thinking, I pray I live to see another day as precious as this one. Thank you, Yitz. We love you.
We've been friends, close friends with Yitz and Rosie, as I say, for 46 years now. And he's been there through thick and thin, through great times, through happy times, and through sad times with 4 generations of our family, from Jerry's parents to us, to our kids, to our grandchildren. Yitz has known Bob and Lois Goldberg, Jerry's folks, and my folks, for that matter, in Austin, for many, many years. We got to be very involved and friendly with Yitz when he was the cantor of Tiferet Israel. And I remember many, many Shabbos mornings going to services at Tiferet Israel, and he and I would lumber home after services and always stop for a l'chaim or 3, and made for a great Saturday afternoon nap, I'll say that.
Yes, we really care about you. We love you. And you always say, you know, that Bill is like your other brother. And we feel that. You and Rosie have been very special to us. And we wish you well. Mazel tov on your 50-year anniversary. 50 years of being our friend. We appreciate you, and we wish you the best.
May you go from strength to strength. And while most of the people who may watch this film are going to refer to you as Yitz or Rabbi, you're cantor to me.
About 18 years ago, I was asked to chair an event in the Christian community, and as it turned out, I said that I would like to make the event different. The first rabbi I went to really was Rabbi Yitz. And he answered the phone. He's like, "Of course, darling, I'll be glad to help you," and has been so inclusive for about the last 18 and a half years to our family, praying over our kids before they get married, inviting us to every single Passover, every single High Holy Day, including the Russians, including the Christians, and including everyone that would like to be a part. And he's just an amazing man of God.
Yitz is very special to me and Virginia, and we love him with all our hearts. He is very inclusive. He just draws the circles bigger. You know, he'll cross the lines, but he's a man of deep character and integrity. He is a family man. He's just incredibly committed to Rosie and to his children, his grandchildren, and he's very committed to his congregation, and the steps that he's made to start Nishmat Am and all that he's done to keep it alive and all the challenges is amazing to me.
This is a great friend of Yitz Cohen. This is Larry Strauss, and as Yitz knows, he's my second favorite rabbi. Yitz knows who the first one is. We'll keep that between me and Yitz. But one professor at Yitz's high school wrote something that is profound. That professor wrote in Yitz's yearbook that Yitz would be the greatest husband, the greatest father, the greatest grandfather, the greatest cantor, and the greatest rabbi. And Yitz has lived up to that. Also in Yitz's yearbook, the professor wrote that Yitz would be a leader in his community. And thank God he chose Dallas, Plano as his community. Yitz, we all send our love and our best. Happy 50th.
My main connection with Rabbi Cohen is just, I'm very active in Hadassah here in Dallas. And whenever I see the rabbi, he's always saying, "Here's Susie, Miss Hadassah." And that's very good. He's such a cheerleader for Hadassah, and we really appreciate it. And basically, for Israel itself, he's always right there advocating for Israel and very positive in that regard.
I met a man who stood out from all the rest by his words and by his actions. I have come to love him, and let me share with you why. In 2009, I met Rabbi Cohen for the first time at a function at the synagogue of which I was a member. I watched so many people rush to greet him and saw this humble man greet anyone and everyone as if they were his most cherished brother or sister. I heard him tell everyone he loved them, and I know and felt he meant it. To say I was taken is an understatement. I have watched this man, this self-deprecating, thoroughly unpretentious man, do so many kindnesses, mitzvahs, righteous deed, without being asked and without taking any credit. He is an inspiration, yet is unassuming and always gives others any credit. This, my friends, is someone who demonstrates every day what it is to be a mensch.
Yitz's connection to my family, actually to my wife Annette, Aleha Shalom, to her family goes back to Yitz being a young man cantor, boy prodigy in Washington, D.C., where my wife's family came from. Now, believe it or not, my wife was a bridesmaid at Yitz and Rosie's wedding. The original Yitzchak, Isaac, our second patriarch, was named because his father Abraham, laughed out of joy when he was informed by God that he and his wife Sarah would finally have a son. So the name Yitzchak means to laugh, to instill joy. And there's no doubt that Yitz lives up to his name. As the Talmud tells us, Kishmo Kenhu, a person exhibits the traits of their name. Yitzchak means laughter, joy, and that's what Yitzchak has brought to our community now for over 50 years. He's been the melodic voice of congregations in Dallas and in Washington, D.C., and in Israel. He's made his mark in the world of Chazanut. So I want to wish him and Rosie and the entire family, their extended family, both in the States and in Israel, Mazel Tov. Yitz, you deserve all the accolades. This is an opportunity for us, in a small way, to return to you our feelings of affection and love. May God bless you and your wonderful family with continued success, happiness, and health. Amen.
Gott, wie hast du Spankus divers growing old. Mamela, sei gebencht von Gott, Mamela. Mother dear, I always call you Mama. Tired eyes, wrinkled hands, and a simple heart that always understands. I remember how you used to comfort me, a little boy of 3 in bygone years. I remember how you took me on your knee. With a kiss you would dry my tears. Silver hair, heart of gold. Day by day I hate to see you growing old. Mama, may God bless you, Mama. May God bless you,
Working with Rabbi Cohen gives me a unique window into understanding the impact and the influence he has had on so many people in so many places. Sitting in the office, taking phone calls from people who knew Rabbi Cohen 40, 50 years ago, still looking to him for advice, for help, for suggestions, indicates how much of an impact he has had on people over the years.
Dear Yitz, it is a privilege and an honor to be family and friend to such a person as you. Endless love, remarkable intellect, endearing wit, and unlimited devotion. Speaking of family, however, it's been a pleasure all these years to be able to share 2 wonderful grandchildren with you, to watch them grow, to share in the simchas and all the celebrations we've spent together, and we hope to continue that for all the years to come. We wish you much love and mazel, and just let's celebrate these 50 years.
Shalom, Rabbi Cohen. Janine and I are honored to give this tribute to you tonight on this, the 50th anniversary of your service to the Dallas Jewish community. During this 50-year period, the DFW metropolitan area population has increased from 2 million to almost 6.5 million, and you have participated in every aspect of that growth. During this past half century, you have touched thousands upon thousands of people and made a difference in their lives, both Jewish and non-Jewish, through your warmth, humor, friendship, spirituality, teaching, humanity, and love of Torah, the Jewish people, and Israel. You are an inspiration to all of us and a blessing to our people. Todah Rabbah.
Rabbi Yitz, we are so fortunate to have you as our friend and rabbi. You bring out the Yiddish soul in all of us. We wish you lots of nachas and good health as we go into the next 50 years together. We love you.
My dear friend Yitz, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Belinda, and I'm gonna try to make it through this without crying, but I can't promise you. I am so blessed to be able to share such beautiful memories about Yitz. Starting back when I was a young girl at Tiferet Israel, back in the early 70s, I was one of Yitz's very first bas mitzvahs. I remember vividly going to his office to practice and taking my tape recording at my house and listening to his voice hours and hours every day, just so I could be the best for him. He knew I loved to perform and how much he loved my voice, which he still talks about today, and he might have said this once or twice in the sermons. My dad, Charles, sadly suffered a heart attack the night before my bas mitzvah. Although the party was canceled, I still had my service, and he made sure to comfort me and wanted me to do my very best so that I can make my dad proud in spirit. Thank you for that. Yitz has always been very, very close to my family. My grandmother, Lily Skybell, and my grandfather, Sam Skybell, are one of the founders of Tifereth Israel. So from the beginning, we all had a very tight bond. Another great memory is when Yitz would come and spend time at our house, singing while my dad played the clarinet. Those evenings in my dad's study were magical, and Yitz still talks about that to this day. Tragically, my dad, Chuck, died at a very, very young age, 45. Of course, Yitz was there to comfort me, and eventually when my mother remarried, he knew my stepfather, Maurice, and they too were close friends. Yitz, as you can see, is important to all of us. My mom, Rosalie, my uncle Saul, who sang in the choir, my uncle Carl, the whole list just goes on and on. Sad times, happy times, loving times. Yitz is a man who has helped me go from a little girl to a grown woman. Sorry, I knew I wasn't going to make it without crying. He has shared all of our lives' ups and downs. Even to this day, his hugs brighten my day. To have this man in my family's lives has been a true joy, a true blessing. How many people can say that their rabbi is more than just that? How many people can say their rabbi is part of their family and truly mean that? I can. I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for being so important to us, for being a rock, for being a friend, and being the wonderful man you were in the past, the present, and in our future. It's beyond words how I feel about you. And I want you to know that you have touched us, and because of you, our lives are better. I love you so very much, Belinda.
Well, what a man, and what a life we're celebrating here. Rabbi Cohen has touched countless lives in our community and beyond. He teaches by the example that performing simple acts of kindness can change a person's world. We know that, but he embodies it. We can cite one example after another where Rabbi Cohen has had an extraordinary impact on another life just by stopping by to visit someone in a hospital, pausing for a conversation in an unexpected place. It's inexplicable, yet tangible. It's a feeling of love and welcome from our Yitz to you, to each and everyone to come and partake. So call the number on your screen now. Please make a contribution to express your gratitude for having been on the receiving end. And for those of you who have already given, and we know you're out there, thank you so much. Thank you for what you've done. Thank you for your celebration of Yitz and of our shul and what we're doing, and your confidence. The vision, the mission of the man we honor this evening. We're doing it for his 50 plus years of goodness, love, and service to Dallas.
I told him, I said, if you retire, what are you going to retire to? You're going to still, do the same thing. It's just, don't talk to me about retiring, because you can't take a fish out of the water, right? And definitely this one, no, it's
his blood.
It's his life. It's his.
It's who he is.
Yeah, and I believe that this was something that he came into this world to do. This was his assignment. We all have one, right?
I'm filled with gratitude. From the bottom of my heart. It couldn't have gotten any better. It doesn't get any better. It does not get any better. Even when you're down and you feel down, you see your friends. You come into your congregation. You see smiling faces. And how they greet you. And right away, you realize that there's nothing to be down about. And by nature, I think I'm an optimist. I'm an optimist. I see the glass as 3/4 full, not half full, you know. God has been good to me. People have been good to me. Family have been good to me. My congregations have been good to me. Again, I say there are no words to adequately express my gratitude to all of the most wonderful, wonderful people I befriended throughout the years.
Listen to prosperity, good health and happiness, but most of all,
to life, to Yitchak, and Rosie, long life. He has a way of receiving us, leading and teaching us. Drink l'chaim, tonight we sing to Yitchak. From Krakow to Dallas, his life. He is our rabbi and dearest friend. His goodness knows no end. Drink to Yitchak, to life. Yitz brings music to our souls. He shares in all he knows. His song is a delight. 50 years he serves our needs. He relishes good deeds. His praise is source alive. To life, to Yitchak. To Yitchak and Rosie, long life. He has a way of receiving us, leading and teaching us. Drink l'chaim to life. La da 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 Tonight we sing to Yitchak. From Krakow to Dallas, his life. He is a rabbi and dearest friend. His goodness knows no end. Drink to Yitchak, to life.
listen to prosperity, good health and happiness, but most of all,
to life, to Yitchak, and Rosie, long life. He has a way of receiving us, leading and teaching us. Drink l'chaim, tonight we sing to Yitchak. From Krakow to Dallas, his life. He is our rabbi and dearest friend. His goodness knows no end. Drink to Yitchak, to life. Yitz brings music to our souls. He shares in all he knows. His song is a delight. 50 years he serves our needs. He relishes good deeds. His praise is source alive. To life, to Yitchak. To Yitchak and Rosie, long life. He has a way of receiving us, leading and teaching us. Drink l'chaim to life. La da 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 da
is a rabbi, a dearest friend. His goodness knows no end. Drink to Yitzhak, to life.